So Bitcoin is going up right now, but XRP is going down. Why is that? Is that bad? And what's going on at the rest? For the rest, or whatever I want to say. Anyway, regardless, the most interesting thing happening over the next 48 hours has got to be, I think this view is better, the Federal Reserve interest rate decision. Now, theoretically speaking, it's a nothing burger because probably nothing is going to happen, right? They're probably not going to change the interest rate, and thus, well, what really are we going to watch, right? Just them announcing more of the same. Then again, almost every single time around this event, prices start doing some crazy shenanigans. And I mean, we often talk about some of the volatility at the end of the weekend or start of the week, but generally speaking, the more important events to watch are the inflation rates, federal interest rate, and there's a few other ones, but generally speaking, I'd say these are the two most important events to watch. So again, inflation, Federal Reserve interest rate decision, which again will happen in about 36 hours or something like that from now. Let's just call it 40 hours from now. So definitely quite interesting. Now at the same time, I'd say that every single time something is announced with regards to tariffs or trade agreements, the price could also make some crazy moves. I mean, right now, these minor announcements of saying, hey, something major is coming up. No, that ain't doing nothing for anybody no more. I mean, the market's completely, I guess, gotten over all that, because they've been tempting it too much. So just these quote unquote fakey announcements, these little announcements of an announcement, really, I don't think they're going to cut it. But I'm just talking about, the US coming to some real agreement with a country finally after all these weeks, or some with China, for example, or some new update about the pauses. All that could also move the markets. And I would warn you all to have your notifications on for specifically that. But to get a little bit more into XRP and Bitcoin, because some interesting things happened in the chart. One thing that was quite interesting was Ripple just officially pledged $25 million in RLUSD to support US classrooms, teachers, and financial literacy programs across the country. Now, is this huge for XRP itself? Debatably. I mean, on the one hand, it's not doing that much for XRP itself. On the other hand, I guess it's just Ripple putting another foot forward to create more use cases for their stablecoin, to actually put it to use for, different ideas. And on the other hand, it's just Ripple doing charity work. Obviously, it's a massive company. These things make them look good. Get yourself some nice goodwill. I mean, it's not like Trump level where he's just posting these promotions to, make the coin price go up. But fun fact, Trump's coin is again moving up significantly, or at least it did earlier when I checked it out, mostly because Trump has now reiterated on when the dinner is going to be. Apparently, it's going to be in about a month, actually in about 3 weeks or so, not even 3 weeks from now, May 22nd, a dinner with the massive holders of the meme coin. And I think it's actually quite interesting. The fact that you just buy his freaking meme, you still got about like $1 million worth, or maybe $2 million at this point. I don't exactly know. But then you're invited to a dinner with 220 others. I mean, it's not that easy to have a dinner with like 300 people now that I'm thinking about it. It's like a whole freaking restaurant, so there's not really much private time in that sense. But then again, I think just being in the right circle right there, in the same circle with all the people who at least have a couple $1 million in this meme, it's quite a lot of interesting conversations that must be had over there. And talking about interesting conversations, one I had earlier today was actually about the amount of Bitcoin that Michael Saylor's company, Strategy, is buying. I mean, they just acquired another 2,000 Bitcoin, and it made me realize, man, really, it's actually that simple. I covered this more times a week, but really, if you just, I'm going to say it one more time, right? If you just zoom out, you'll start to realize that if you just keep on buying the freaking dip, or just keep on buying in general, you make a ton of money. And the matter of the fact, I guess, the question is, how much money will you make, and will it not have been better to have, for example, a savings account, or stocks/indices, or maybe gold, or all this? So it's a matter of, will another asset class outgain you? But over the history, and I think over the near future as well, nothing will be better than crypto from a risk-reward perspective. Some things might actually outgain it, but the risk is so severely high that it's not worth it. But generally speaking, if you just shut the frick up, just buy these freaking things and don't think about it too much, I think over time you make so much money. I mean, on the short term, XRP, for example, is breaking down, but really, you got to remember, ladies and gentlemen, the reason I've got these bots in place is so they can actually buy that freaking dip. And actually the reason, at least one of the reasons why I haven't really added a lot of money into the account, there's only $15,000 in here. Part of it was to prove to you guys that not that much money can make a ton. because, again, over the next few weeks, I'll keep documenting this and you'll see how crazy it's going to get. That's one part. But the second part also is because when you're introducing something completely new to people, in this case here, my bot strategies, I'm sharing them with you quite freshly, right? I think sometimes it's best to kind of start things off in an easy manner. I think if I started the video saying, hey, I've thrown $1 million at it, a lot of people would be kind of thrown off, thinking, what is it, a bit suspicious or strange or something along those lines. I think if I kind of build it up showing you, hey, here's, for example, a $15,000 account. Here's what I would do with it. That's what I've done right now. And then slowly but surely, I build up some actual size. I think it's a more logical progression also for people who want to copy along with what exactly I'm doing. Again, I'm not your financial advisor. I'm just showing what I'm doing. But then again, there's literally buttons in the comment or in the description down below to copy exactly every single trade that I've taken here. And theoretically speaking, because of the bonuses that you can also get, and again, I always recommend use this link first to Payonix, just sign up, then this link right here to get yourself a bonus, and then, right, so just use that, sign up, put some money in there maybe, or, you know, use the bonus link and then put some money in there, and then sign up for one of these bots, because otherwise it might not work. You know, use that order. And by the way, also, it might ask you to verify whichever country you're from. Don't put US, put a different country. A lot of people are confused about that step, but just put a country that's allowing it. You can put whatever name you want because KYC 1 is not verifying your ID. You know, you can just put a random name, a random country. Thank me later for that. Even I myself, I didn't send them my ID or anything. You don't need to. Anyway, but on a short term, it might look like it's doing really, really bad. And I'll keep reiterating, just keep showing up, right? Just keep coming back to the channel. If you think I'm a stupid ass, or you think I'm dumb for doing all these trades, all I can say is just keep watching, all right? Because I think many will be amazed by the result. A lot of people are DMing me with all their personal specific questions. I won't be able to answer most of that. But the long story short is you don't got to think too much. It just works. All you got to watch out for is liquidation price and adding margin whenever it makes sense. But if you think, for example, oh, you know what, I got a really wrong entry. For example, let's say here, my starting price is 366, and I think it's awful. Like, for example, now you want to copy along, right? But you think that whatever price is at, it's bad to start. You just put a little bit in the bot, for example. You wait for the price to drop significantly. For example, now it's at 344. If I now buy again, you know, my average price, my start price basically, will change by a significant amount, making the profit percentages look better. It's another thing you could do, you know, I'm just putting it out here real quick. But anyway, to get back to it, the whole idea is that it's going to be looking like this or so. And again, remember, I guess a very important thing to remember is what else you're going to go for. I covered earlier, Warren Buffett says it might be a good idea to own a lot of other currencies besides the US dollar. I mean, he could have meant cryptocurrencies. I'm not sure if he did. My point is, though, really, when you start thinking about it, what is safe, right? Which asset really is, oh, that's all too amazing. I keep reiterating that the reason why bots work, or why really just buying crypto in general over longer periods of time just to work, it just works, is because this industry is still emerging, but also because it just makes sense. Many memes, for example, many of those things are just vaporware. Really, a lot of cryptos are. And if you really start thinking far enough, a lot of things you can invest into are kind of stupid. That doesn't mean it won't work, though. And when it comes to crypto, again, my personal conviction is it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. It doesn't matter whatever they say. All I know is crypto works, and it will keep going up in price for at least a long while. And I'm so highly convinced of it that I've got most of my money in it. And again, there's literally 0%, in my head, there's 0% chance of failure. I guess there are some scenarios in which Bitcoin is better than others. There's some scenarios in which XRP is better than others. There's some scenarios in which Solana is better than others, or SUI is better than others. But generally speaking, I think if you diversify out a little bit, and especially start going heavy once the market adapts. Like right now, we're in a market where mostly things are sideways, right? Again, I just showed you that Bitcoin is moving up ever so slightly, but generally speaking here, we've not really recovered back into bull territory. It's just not as bearish no more, right? What we did, unfortunately, or I should say fortunately do, is we bounced off of the moving average. We did not go below it. I mean, we touched below it, but we not closed below it. So we're basically still in the bull market because it never closes below that in a bull market. But still, if you ask anybody, even though we're up significantly, right, 30% from the bottom, and we had a proper correction of roughly 33% as well. So this is basically what we also saw throughout the previous cycles, one of the worst case scenarios we've already seen here. And I personally think we've basically seen what we saw back in, let's call it April or so of 2021, where right now this dip has been achieved. This was about more, but let's see, 55% down before continuing up significantly. Again, another 150% pump, right? A lot of people thought, oh, it's over. It went down significantly, bear market. But you can see it didn't really close below the moving average, slowly but surely built off of it and then, or up from it. Then at some point it did hit its peak, and then slowly but surely the moment it started to really cross below and actually properly close below, that's when the bear market started for a very long while. And I still stand by the fact that this is going to be happening in some similar sort of way. Think about it though, even if we were to go back to the moving average, it's about 15-17% down or so. If we go below it, I think the worst case here, we've got about a 22% or so drop from current levels at which, you might want to take a loss if we do close at that level. But then at that point, hopefully we've already seen crazy high prices though, and then this drop is going to be a drop from, for example, $196,000 to 20% down, for example, to 150,000, something along those lines. An interesting observation is that the higher the prices go, obviously the more a 20% drop will also be. Like before, when Bitcoin was at $1,000, dropping 20% was only $200, right? But soon enough, dropping 20% is going to be tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's kind of interesting to think about that also would change. Where a $10,000 drop in a day right now is like crazy, at some point it's going to probably drop $10,000 every single day. It's just something interesting I sometimes think about. But yeah, just wanted to quickly share that this is happening in the next day or so. The last couple of videos I made are all like tomorrow or day after, this, that. And the reason I'm doing that mostly is because there's not really any too crazy of a news piece. And so I'm just updating people on what's like in the near future. Some people like to say, stop with all the titles of that sort. But really, I don't want to make a video here just for the sake of making a video. So the reason I'm not posting 3 or 5 a day like I would usually do in crazy good times and just post 1 every day or every other day is because, well, now again, something interesting is happening in 48 hours that people might want to trade around. I'll give a little update. Or the fact that Warren Buffett right now is saying, hey, maybe don't go for the US dollar. It's quite interesting to take a look at or think about. That MicroStrategy just bought a ton more Bitcoin. It's quite interesting that Trump has now put a date on the dinner. Or that Ripple is again putting more money into getting their stablecoin out there. These are some interesting parts I just wanted to quickly share. And like I do in every video, I also share a bit as to why I'm so excited about all this, why it excites me. Because I think the most important thing I can do in a market like this is just keep reassuring people that, first of all, we're still here, and second of all, it's always in phases. And what we're at right now is like a lower phase where things are not as exciting, not as cool, not as flashy, but soon enough things will turn around. And the funniest thing is, whenever it does, people always wish they could go back to a time like this. Even I will have it. I will have the same. Right now, things are slow, and I'm thinking, oh, I wish the market would move up. But really, when the market starts moving up like crazy, I always think, I wish I had more time at these lower prices. And I think Michael Saylor, the one who's buying so much Bitcoin, has the same, where he's trying to raise hundreds of billions of dollars to buy more Bitcoin because he's so convinced it'll do that well. And all he wants is just to buy as much as possible. And I think at some point he might become the richest person on earth, maybe not too long from now. Fun fact, it could happen actually within a year or two if Bitcoin really decides to go crazy and he's able to raise even a lot more, depending obviously on how he set himself up for that. But damn, things are still looking good. Things are still looking beautiful, regardless of what other people in the comment section say. Don't worry about all of them. Beautiful, 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 and take care.